You know, sometimes you make goals for yourself so that you can laugh at them and not really complete them. And that was the case for this past week. I had a lot of goals on my plate last week and I didn't get them all done. I kind of bit off more than I could chew. Hey, friends, happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, February 16th, 2023. And I've got a really quick update for you this week. Before I dive into the Quilty project, I want to let you know this past week was my husband's birthday. So if you haven't said it already, I'd love it if you could leave me a little comment down below telling Jason happy birthday. I did work on some fun things this past week. The first thing that I remember doing is some lovely mug rugs. So Tuesday night on Valentine's Day, I did a 1 hour live stream where I opened up the Cupid box for 2023, showed you everything that was inside of it, and I used the June Taylor Quilt as you go placemat batting to make 3 mug rugs using some scrap fabrics from the Dusk to Dawn boutiques. This is that same fabric line that I am using for the Atomic Starburst quilt. I'm in love with that fabric and I'm looking for all the ways to use it. I did put those 3 mug rugs together. I haven't bound them yet, so they're not completely finished, but I got them all pieced and quilted on a live stream. Speaking of that Atomic Starburst quilt, I made a lot of progress with that. I'm trying to chunk that project up into a few milestones, 1 milestone each week. And this past week, my milestone was I wanted all of my stars to be pieced. And honestly, that's probably the longest and most difficult part of the entire quilt top because everything else is just putting the blocks together and adding some sashing. Those stars are FPP or foundation paper pieced, and that can take a little bit of time to put each of those blocks together. But I am happy to say that all 20 of my blocks are pieced. The papers are ripped off the back, they are pressed, and they are ready to go. I am loving how this is starting to look. I want to mention Donna from Handmade by Ying for just a minute because while she was here, she decided she wanted to do the Atomic Starburst quilt with me, and we're making what we're calling sister quilts. Her version of this quilt is going to be done using Christmassy colors, and mine is going to be more the pinks, the purples, and the blues. There are several people that are also making this offline. They are not content creators. They are just sewing this because they think it's a beautiful project. And if you would like to be one of those folks, I will link to the pattern in the description box down below this video. Also, if this is your first time doing FPP or foundation paper piecing, I will also link to an excellent video tutorial that my friend Ian, the off-kilter crafter Ian, has done that will help you understand how to do FPP. The Beachy Braid quilt is all done, and I am beyond in love with this thing. It is just absolutely gorgeous. For the binding, I used that tan batik fabric that had the sand dollar print in it. And while you can't really see the sand dollars in the binding, you still get that same creamy tan color. And I really love the way that binding frames this quilt. After the binding was all attached, I tossed the quilt in the washer and dryer, and because I have poured my heart and soul into this quilt, I have earned that first cuddle with the quilt. So I had a little snuggle with it last night while I was watching TV with the husband. The friend that I am giving this quilt to is actually out of town for a few weeks. She left this past weekend to visit her fiance, and she won't be back until March. So this quilt might actually get a few more snuggles by yours truly before I pay it forward to her. Speaking of braid quilts, man, do I have some exciting news for you. Back in January, I got a phone call from Tiangum. He said that So Yeah was going to launch classes that were free for class participants. That's huge. I don't know any other quilt shop that does this, either in person or virtual classes. There's always some sort of a fee. This is groundbreaking. He was looking for a number of instructors to teach classes, and he asked me if I would be interested in teaching. And of course, I said yes. This is something I am super excited about, and I cannot wait to get more experience in. So we took a look at our calendars and we picked a date that worked for us. But the next thing that I had to do was pick a project. At first, I thought I wanted to teach an entire quilt, but the more I thought about those Zoom sessions and how long it's really going to take to get through everything, I realized we needed to make that project a bit smaller. The whole reason I was creating that beachy braid quilt was because I was testing out some measurements and some techniques for a friendship braid so that I could teach you how to do it in a Sew Yeah class. So, I am officially letting you know on Saturday, March 18th, 2023, from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be teaching you how to make a beautiful braid table runner, just like some of the braids that you see in that beachy braid quilt. I'm going to give you the techniques that you need to know for how to build out a braid. And then if you want to customize that to make a full quilt full of braids, or maybe a longer version of a table runner or a wider version or a narrower version, whatever it is you want to do. I'm going to show you how I put my braid together, and I'm going to equip you with the knowledge that you need to make that braid your own. This is a free class for you to sign up for, but spaces are limited, so make sure to register as soon as you can, and I will hopefully see you on Zoom on Saturday, March 18th. By the way, I didn't talk about this last week as a goal because I wasn't ready to share it with you. But one of the reasons why I didn't get as much done is because on Sunday I spent a good deal of time making a braid table runner to make sure that all my fabric requirements, measurements, and everything were accurate for our class. The last thing I worked on this week, and actually just finished up minutes before I started recording this vlog, is the Jolly Bar 4 Quilt Along. This is a quilt along that is being hosted by Fat Quarter Shop, and we are on week number 5. And every week in my vlog, until this project is done, I'm sharing my project status and any tips that I have for that week's blocks. For week number 5, you're going to make 2 blocks. The first one is the blueprint block, and I feel like that's a tongue twister, so I hope it came out okay. But the blueprint block, I can't say that 10 times fast. The blueprint block is really large and it's going to take extra time to put together. So make sure you've got some time set aside to piece that. The only tip that I have for you for the blueprint block is to plan out your fabrics a little bit better than maybe I did. I think I overused purple in this block, and I feel like every time I look at it, that's all I see. But I'm not going to go back and tear any of that out and replace any of it because I feel like once I add that block into the overall quilt, hopefully that clump of purple will get lost in a sea of other colors that surround it. Who knows? When I lay the whole quilt out, maybe then I'll decide to change out a couple of the pieces, but for right now, we're going to leave it the way it is. The second block you'll make is the Stardust block, and this was a really easy sew. I think it took me 5 minutes to put together. My big tip for you on this one is just make sure you are paying attention to the angles of those white fabrics and how you're sewing them on. One portion of that block will make a flying geese unit, and the other portion, the seams are going to go parallel to each other, so you're making kind of like a parallelogram. I do have an overall tip for you though for this entire week. You're going to be doing the stitch and flip method a whole lot, and those pieces that you're going to cut off after you do your flip are really good size. So for me, what I like to do is take a second seam next to that diagonal line that I just sewed. So if I'm drawing a diagonal line from one corner to the other and sewing on it, about a ½ inch away from that, I'm going to sew a seam parallel to the one that is going to be the seam for my block. That way, when I trim off my seam allowance, I'm actually making a half square triangle unit that's already pieced. And if I have some extra time in the evening and I don't know what I want to work on, I just want to have some busy work, I can square those up and press them open and put them in a bin. And I have a set of half square triangle units that are ready to go. And you can do so much with half square triangle units that it's almost a free project for you to do. This next week, I don't have really a lot on my plate because I'm leaving on Wednesday to go to QuiltCon. I'm really excited about this. This is my first time ever going to QuiltCon. My friend Mary and I are driving down to Atlanta from DC on Wednesday. We'll be at QuiltCon all day Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then Sunday morning, we're going to pack up and drive back up to the DC area. I am taking some workshops. I'm planning to listen to some lectures. I am hoping to see some very beautiful quilts, and I'm planning to spend a little bit of money at those vendor tables. Maybe it is a good idea that we're driving down and not flying. If you're going to be at QuiltCon, I would love a chance to meet you. Just know this. I have no idea what many of you look like. So if you see me or you recognize my voice, please feel free to come up and say hi. I don't bite. I would love the opportunity to give you a hug or a fist bump and just say hi and thank you for supporting my channel. I do have some time to sew before I leave on Wednesday, so I've got two things that I'm going to work on. The first one is going to be the Among the Stars Again month number 2. My membership program on my website, so Becca VIP, is doing a monthly block of the month, and we're doing that on Zoom. This Sunday, February 19th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to put together the blocks for month number 2. So that's the first thing that I want to work on. By the way, if you are interested in joining my VIP membership, it's basically an exclusive access membership on my website. It is $5 a month, and you can find all the details for it through a link in the description box down below this video. I'm going to take a break on the Atomic Starburst quilt because so many of you have started this week working on the project, and this will give everybody time to get all of their stars pieced, and then we'll pick up with it when I return from QuiltCon. So you've got a little bit of time to get things in order if you're doing this with me. The second thing I want to work on is Jolly Bar 4 Quilt Along for week number 6. I want to make sure that I stay caught up on this quilt along, especially because Fat Quarter Shop was so kind enough to extend an invite for me to do the sew along with them. That's all the plans that I have for this week. I think those two projects, plus packing and getting ready for QuiltCon and spending time with my family because I'll be gone for several days, will be more than enough to keep me busy. Thank you, friends, for checking in on me, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.